So here we go. X squared equals 25. So to solve this, you guys just told me we're just going to take the square root. So when we take the square root of both sides. And when you draw the square root symbol onto a problem to solve it, you always get positive and negative. So what is the square root of 25? 5. Okay, you try. Whenever you draw the square root symbol on there, you always get positive or negative. Because if we square positive 5, we get 25. And if we square negative 5, we also get 25.
How can we jump that?
Huh?
I don't understand the plus of it.
A positive 9? Okay, what is 2 times 2? 4. What is negative 2 times negative 2? 4. So there are 2 ways to get 4, multiplying a number by itself. We can do it with a positive 2 times a positive 2. That gives us positive 4. Or a negative 2 times a negative 2 gives us positive 4. So when you are taking the square root, you're asking yourself, what numbers can I multiply times itself and get this? So that's why there's 2 answers, a positive and a negative. Perfect. All right. So on this one, we're going to take the square root of both sides. And when we take the square root, we have to add that positive or negative for the reasons we just talked about. So we get plus or minus 7. Okay? Now, sometimes when we start off, it's not equal to a perfect square. Sometimes it's equal to a number that's not a perfect square. So when we have something like x squared equals 50, when we, and I'm just going to rewrite it so I can show all my work, when we take the square root of both sides, which is our first step, we get plus or minus square root of 50. So we have to think about, what is the largest perfect square that divides into 50? 25. 25 goes in there how many times? 2. And so here we get x equals plus or minus, what is the square root of 25? 5. And we don't know the square root of 2. 2 is not one of our perfect squares, so it stays under. Now this simplifying radicals we worked on a lot last semester. So some of you are really good at it, and some of you still need a little help. So if you want to check your work on these, if you guys have a calculator like this one, or if you have a calculator like this one, if you have either of the TI-30s, they simplify the radicals for you. That one does. There actually is a program you can download that will on the graphing calculator, so if you own your own, you can download the program. It has a mini USB port right here, and you hook it up to your main computer, and you can go out into the TI website, and there are a ton of programs you can download. Yeah, great things like Pokemon. All right.
Oh, I should do that.
Okay, now, if you don't have your own graphic calculator, then you can't do that. So these old ones that we use in here, they won't download programs. You actually have to program the programs. But the other ones will. Okay, let's try one like this. Let's do square root. Let's do x squared equals 40. Okay, so we take the square root and we get the plus or minus. Okay, how do we break up 40? What's the largest perfect square that divides into 40? 5 and 8 are both factors, but I don't know the square root of either of those numbers. So I want to pick factors that I know the square root of one of them. 4. 4 times what? 10.
Oh, I did do that right.
Okay? So we can take the square root of 4. The square root of 4 is 2. And
5 and 2.
there we go. It's plus or minus 2 roots of 10. We do not know the square root of 10. Now 10 does break down into 2 times 5, but 2 is not a perfect square, and 5 is not a perfect square, so that doesn't help us. Okay, now my favorite kind are ones like this. Like where we have x squared equals 11. This is the easiest kind because 11 is prime and it's not a perfect square. So when we go ahead and take the square root of both sides, we're done. It won't do anything. So we get x equals plus or minus square root of 11. So this number, the number 11, does not have any perfect square factors.
Do we ever have
So,
to change them
it's
to
done.
decimals? No.
The only time you would change it to decimals if it was in a word problem. Okay? Alright.
Because these don't, they change.
Okay, so now I want you to flip it over. Flip your worksheet over. And I want everybody to try number 1. I want the boys
We're sharing that.
to do number 2. And I want the girls to try number 3.
Okay, so you're doing.
So everybody's doing 2 problems. Now that,
Oh, yeah, true.
okay. Let me help get everybody started on that number 1. 96 is our number. Okay, it's even, right?
Yeah.
So 2 goes in there how many times?
48.
48. 48 is still even. So what number goes in there?
24.
2 goes in there 24 times. 24 is still even. So 2 goes in there 12 times. 12 is still even. So 2 goes in there 6 times. And we could break 6 down into 2 and 3. Okay, so how many 2's do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 9.
And then we have a 3. Okay, so for number 1, if you think about the old way,
4 roots 3. 4 roots over 6.
let's see if you can do it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 3.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense.
You like it better like that? Okay. That's a good question. I should check on that.
Struggles are real for Alex, don't you?
Yes, yes they are.
Alright. Oh, God. Oh, that hurt. They're a little small.
Why you say this information?
I don't want to hear that other information. Oh, yes, you did.
I will drop it in the body.
Oh, man, no. I have no rules to do that.
Yeah, I was a winner.
Could have been better.
Alright, boys, did y'all get plus or minus square root of 7 for number 2? And girls, did you get plus or minus square root of 29 for number 3? Okay, now let's go back and look at this. So this was the other way we did simplifying radicals, where we broke it down into a complete factor tree, and we said when it's a square root, how many do we need to come out? 2. So we have 2 2's that can come out, don't we? So it ends up being 2 times 2. Now, this 2 is lonely. It's all by itself, so it can't come out, can it? And this 3 is all by itself, so it can't come out. So what's 2 times 3? 6. And so what is 2 times 2? 4. So this simplifies to plus or minus 4 roots of 6. Okay, now let's skip to number 7. Let's take a look at number 7. Now, number 7 has extra stuff. And what we have to do is get rid of the extra stuff. Every time we want a squared part, left out the a squared equal to a number. Every time. And we don't want anything else. Just something squared equal to a number. So right now we have a squared plus 1. So what we have to do is get rid of that 1. So we're going to subtract 1. So we have a squared equals 1. And now we do the same thing. We take the square root of both sides. And when you take the square root, you get plus or minus. And for some reason, this one's tricky. The square root of 1 is 1. I don't know why it's tricky, but it tricks us a lot. Because 1 times 1 is 1, and negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Okay, so let's look at number 8. N squared minus 4. We have extra. How do we get rid of minus 4? Add 4. So we get n squared equals 81. And some of you are just going to see the answer. But some of you need to, every time, draw in this, put your plus or minus. And so we get n equals positive or negative. What is the square root of 81? 9. Okay, number 9 we're going to skip because number 9 does not work.
Yeah. There's going to be negatives.
Number 9 has no real solution.
10 is the same thing.
Okay? And number 10 ends up being the same thing as number 8. So we're going to skip that one also. All right, that takes us to some good ones right here.
Oh, yeah. Add 6.
All right, I like it. So look at number 11. The first thing we're going to do is add 6. Okay, do we have just something being squared equal to a number? No. We have 4 times x squared equal to a number. So that's what we need to do. You are right. Divide by 4.
Oh, I did it a different
So now we have x squared equals 20. And now we take the square root of both sides. Now 20 is not a perfect square, but can you think of the largest perfect square that divides into 20? Okay, it's going to be 2 when we pull it out, but
2
it's
and
4 times 5.
Oh, I was supposed to say 2 and 10 though.
Okay, 2 and 10 are factors, but 2 is not a perfect square and 10 is not a perfect square. So if we're just going to break it up straight to here, but if you were doing the tree, you could definitely do that. Definitely. Because then you'd see you have 2 2s, so it can come out.
Yeah. I
Yes.
do the tree, is that the same thing?
Yes. If you do the tree, it's the same thing. If you do it like this, we're going to pull out the 2. If you do the tree, we're still going to pull out a 2. So you can do it either way. Now, everybody wasn't in support last semester. Did you guys do a tree at all in your classes?
Yeah.
The ones that were in support, I know did, because Miss Peavyhouse and I both did trees. So you can do it either way, and either way, you get plus or minus 2 roots of 5 as your answer. Okay, you try number 13. You try number 13, please.
Did you get 7 or 2?
Matt, what'd you get? Donald Trump? What'd you get, bud? Come on, amigo. Put 3 in them. Ain't much love, right? I need to. Mark. Cross practice.
Instantly go down.
If we don't put positive or negative, will you get the answer wrong?
Half wrong. All right, so we're going to add 6, divide by the 7, and we get x squared equals 9. So this one turned out pretty, didn't it? Because when you take the square root, you get plus or minus 3.
And so does 14.
Okay? Now let's go back and try number 12. This one doesn't give us integer answers. Number 12, we're going to have to simplify. So go back and try number 12 now.
This is exciting.
12.
same answer.
Oh, yeah, true.
That sounds hilarious.
98,
Figure out the greatest perfect square that goes in there. Everybody says
It's
So we subtract 7, and so we get 3m squared equals 294. Divide by 3.
68.
It's the same thing as 40.
No, not 68.
Right?
90. It's 98.
You're correct.
And then you take the square root of
And
that,
then we take the square root of that.
which will give us plus or minus.
Okay, so how'd you guys figure out 98? Did you do the tree?
Yeah, I did tree.
You did the tree? Okay, we'll do the tree and then we'll think about it the other way. So 2 goes in there.
Oh, sorry, 49 times.
49? Okay. If I was doing the tree, I would stop right here. Because 49 to me goes, ooh, perfect square. But you could break this down to 7 and 7. And so if we thought about it like the tree, we're going to do 2 times 7 times 7. So we have 2 7s. So it can come out. So we get plus or minus 7 roots of 2.
I just kind of skipped that little step right there.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So I have 2 more kinds. And I want us to be really aware of these because they're not hard. There's all the answers, guys. You're welcome. Okay. Now, do you guys see that the P and the 4 are grouped together and everything is square? Alright, I need everybody to hush right now. I need everybody in their conversations and listen to this. On this one, everything is being squared, not just the P. So when everything is squared, we're already to the point where we have a square equal to a number, so we take the square root. So if everything is grouped together, you're good. Go ahead and take the square root of both sides. So here I get P minus 4, because on this side the square and the square root cancel. So I get P minus 4 equals plus or minus, what is the square root of 16?
4.
4.
Plus 4.
So that's what I do next. To solve for P, I have to add 4 here and add 4 here.
P equals 8.
So I get actually 2 things. I get P equals 4 plus or minus 4. What is 4 plus 4? 8. And what is 4 minus 4? 0. So my 2 answers are 8 and 0.
You have to give 2 answers.
Yes. Just like before, we had 2 answers because one was positive and one was negative. Here we still have 2 answers. Okay, so let's look at 16. Is everything currently being squared?
Yes.
Okay, you try it then. You try it.
Do I square it?
Yes, I saw it.
I missed anything that wasn't work or chores.
Two and it's not true.
At 9:30 last night, I got in.
I saw two and no, like you're saying, right. I already know you're not
If I'm not done, like that. Like those.
Go ahead and write it. Okay, you're left with 2K minus
There you go.
40.
I did. Okay. And check on it.
So, oh, kids are so.
This is black out. Let's do that. Let's do
I
plus.
put out the first
Kirsten, you're gonna cut your finger.
That's your first die. Now, what's our second die? Yeah. -1 minus, or probably 1 minus 3.
Okay, so here we get 2k minus 1 equals positive or negative 3. Okay, did everybody get that line? Alright, so then we got to move this 1 over. So this one is a little bit different than the last one. Not a ton, but a little bit. So we get 2k equals 1 plus or minus 3.
4 and 2.
So 2k is 1 plus 3. What is 1 plus 3?
4.
4. Or 2k is 1 minus 3. What is 1 minus 3?
2.
Negative 2. Okay? So right here, make sure both situations are here. This 4 came from, ladies, the 4 came from 1 plus the 3. The negative 2 was a result of 1 minus the 3. So we get 2 different equations that we need to solve. So here we divide by 2, and we get k equals 2. Or we divide by 2,
Negative 1.
and we get k equals negative 1. So those are my answers. Okay, so the next 4 are kind of a combination. We do have a quantity squared, but we also have some extra stuff. So what we have to do is get it to where it's just something squared equal to a number. So this stuff is squared, I have to get rid of this. How do I get rid of positive 4? Minus 4. Okay, this is a good problem because the 24 is not a perfect square. So we're going to have some extra stuff with our 20. We're not just going to get integer answers this time. So when we take the square root now, because now we just have something squared equal to a number. When you get to that point, you take the square root of both sides. So now we have 6x plus 2 equal to, all right, let's come over here. Simplify that square root of 24. 24 is 2 and 12. That's 2 and 6.
3 and 2.
That's 2 and 3. So this gives me 1, 2, 3 2s, and a 3.
Yeah.
How many do I need to come out? 2.
6.
So it's 2 roots of 6. Good. These two can't come out. They have to stay under. So this is plus or minus 2 roots of 6. Okay, next step. We're solving for x, so next step is to move the 2. Now, when I move the 2, cancels over here, but it doesn't go together with that. We can't combine these two. This 2 has a radical with it. This one doesn't. So that is all we can do. We can put them together, but we can't combine them into a single term. Okay? And what is the last step, guys? Divide by 6.
So that would be x equals.
Oh, all of it?
You could write it one this way, or you could write it like this. We could write it either way. You could write it like this or like that. Okay, the 6's cancel over here. So we're left with x equals negative 2 plus or minus 2 roots of 6 over 6. Do you see that 2 divides into this number, and into that number, and into that number? So let's do it. If we divide 2, we're left with 1. If we divide 2, we're left with 1. If we divide by 2, we're left with 3. So it leaves me negative 1 plus or minus 1 root of 6. If it's 1 root of 6, do I need to write the 1?
No.
No. All over 3. And that's how we'll leave our answer.
Okay.
We're good with that. Okay, let's look at number 18. You just have to look at these carefully. Is everything over here being squared?
No.
No, what's not?
10.
The 10. The 10 is multiplied times that stuff, isn't it?
Get rid of
So we got to get rid of it by
Divided.
dividing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's all you have to do for that one?
So now we take the square root of both sides. Whenever you draw that square root symbol, you also always write plus or minus. All right. Let's see if you can simplify square root of 44. You're not sure how to simplify, you ask me right now. Square root of 44.
Oh, I had 7. I know. Square root of 44. No, that should be this. And then you put 7, and that's your answer, because you can't do anything else. I got it. Now add 7. And 7.
What?
Plus or minus.
Yep.
Plus or minus.
Did you hear me?
That's right.
Rubbish.
All right, so 44. We look at 44. It breaks down into 2 and 22, and 22 breaks down into 2 times 11. So if we thought about it doing the factor tree, we know we have to have 2 of them to bring it out. So we have 2 2s, so we can bring a 2 out, and it leaves an 11 under. So square root of 44 simplifies to plus or minus 2 roots of 11.
Now add 7.
And then you add 7. Very good. We add 7.
X equals 7 plus or minus 2 or 11.
That's right.
And you can't do anything else.
And we can't do anything else because the 7 does not have a radical. We cannot put them together. And on this one, we don't have to divide by anything. Yay!
9.
We're done.
Oh, 19.
Okay. 19 we're going to do together, and then 20 is your last you try. So 19 we're going to do together because it has pretty much everything.
20.
Whoa. Whoa.
Oh, we just leave it.
All right, so number 19. We have to get rid of all the extra. What goes first?
8.
The 8.
Or the
We're going to lose the 8 first. So we get 9 times. Now what do we do?
Divide by 9.
Now we divide by the 9. Okay, so when we divide by 9, what do we get?
2 minus 3 is 49.
Okay, this one's going to be nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when we take the square root now, because all we're left with on this side is being squared, so it's time to take that square root.
2 minus.
So when we get plus or minus 7, that ended up pretty.
The other one didn't.
I know it didn't.
Plus 3.
Okay, so now we add 3. And when we do, we get actually 2 answers because it's 3 plus or minus 7. So 3 plus 7 gives us 2m equals 10. And 3 minus 7 gives us 2m equals negative 4. So we got to do the plus part and the minus part. So we divide by 2. And we get 5 or negative 2.
Do we have to put both of them?
Yes. Okay. Now this 20 is your last you try. Okay. While you're trying this one, I'm going to come by and check and make sure you've done all the problems so that you get your credit for today. And I'm going to look at this one too.
I have it right there. Is it right beside I have it right
Well, you
there.
always get the number part first and the rest, oh, you have it at the bottom.
So it's
Okay,
okay.
so it should be 1 plus or minus square root. So the radical part comes second.
Let me check that. Is that number 20? Yeah, that's right. 57. Let's say that is.
Let's plot these two. Because it's not going to get minus 7.
Still don't have this part.
Wait, hold on. Who's writing?
Minus 6x. Now you add 1 to both sides.
Yeah.
57.
I got shorts and it's left hand, but it's hot.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be x equals plus or minus.
It's all like real simple. I'm gonna click that.
Where are the everything else.
Okay, I am going to write the answer. If you get it right, then you can pack up. If you show it to me as you go to your... If you got it right, show it to me and you can pack up. If you need some help, let me know. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, either I really is
All right. Here you write everything.
No, but I'm gonna do it proud.
No, wait, write it in the flash. And then you write it. Yeah. Don't put everything in parentheses yet, because, or under paragraph yet, because that only shows that's not. You have to write. Yes. Stuff. Okay. All right, this is right. Sorry. What right. How do we get here?
To us all.
No, but you added your 5 first.
We look like a leaf. I just come to we look like a leaf. That was ugly.
It's J-Ball.
What?